So over here we've got Nick from the Riverlands Little Cortina. Him and his dad are doing this car together for Drag Challenge. It's going to get a Barra Turbo 6-cylinder. The car's come to me for some unknown reason to do some fab work. So I've just done mini tubs in it to suit 275 50s. We're going to race it probably on a 255 60. So we've mini tubbed it to the chassis rails. We've cut into it a little bit. Obviously it's not a legalities thing. We're not getting the car engineered. It's going to be like obviously a drag and drive car. So mini tubs are done. We'll throw the car up in the air, but we'll quickly just show you inside the boot. So I've done coilover conversion, anti-roll bar and so forth, whatever. Just finished folding up today, obviously, a panel between the two tubs. So the factory boot floor was a little bit too low and used to roll around earlier. So just folded up another section now. The car's got to be, it's just in etch primer for now. It'll get painted after it's all done. So we'll do a boot floor once the cell. We're going to put a water tank in the boot for the intercooler system. It's going to run like a water to air system. Yeah, I'll throw the car up in the air and we'll get into what I've been involved underneath. So it's been a bit of a lengthy process so far. The car's been here longer than I would have liked, but we've had a lot on the go this year. So between the VL, the Mazda going away and everything else that's happened, it's finally time to nip this one in the butt. So it's nearly finished. The car can go back to Nick really soon. All I've got to do tomorrow morning is obviously whack some axles back in it, fit up the brakes, and the wheels can go back on the car and it's back on the ground. For now, it's just got a set of Viking shocks in it that he's borrowed to dummy fit it up. We'll get another set ordered with springs to suit. These I think are like, I don't know, 250 pounds. So we'll get a lot lighter spring for that. We're going to obviously race it on a radial tyre. So fitted up an anti-roll bar. It's a Mood Motorsports one. I really like it. It welded up really nice, and it's obviously it's billet steel, aluminium ends, fitted up pretty good. Obviously, was made to fit to suit. Got a set of billet low mount or a billet mount shock. I designed and made obviously all the lower diff bracketry myself. Obviously, with being a radial between a low prep and a good prepped track, I wanted to be able to adjust the bracketry or obviously the control arms, and made those control arms as well. They're all chrome moly, TIG welded. They're definitely not going to go anywhere. It's nice and stiff. So obviously a bit of a struggle was being a Cortina. They are a triangulated 4-link. So when I say that, if you're not familiar, obviously the top arms or the top control arms are triangulated, and in an ideal world, you'd have those nice and parallel and have a parallel 4-link. But for now, the old Cortinas are very similar to like your Tiranas or HQs, where the control arms on top are angled out going into the boot floor. If I was to do it again, or if, you know, there was no funds, you know, limit, you'd cut the floor out and you'd go parallel 4-link. Would be much nicer, but we'll be able to control the separation. Obviously now it might not need as much of an aggressive angle with the arms, but this will work well. It's getting 35 spline strange axles, a nodular iron center with a full spool. All underneath's just being lined for now in like a sound deadener, and then the car's going to go back to Nick where he's going to fit up the driveline, fit up the tail shaft, a diff, and then we'll get into doing like an underneath, a bit of a halo I'm thinking of doing with the chassis connectors. Rather than cutting out all the factory rails or what's there, I'm going to leave that and do some tube bar work, which will look a lot nicer, and it'll be removable, but also just strengthen up that floor, obviously, because they're pretty weak. So yeah, it's getting close to being finished. I'm keen to get the car back to Nick as him and his dad can get stuck back into it and getting it ready to take on Drag Challenge when they're ready. So yeah. Hey Angelo, I found your inlet manifold gasket. Far out. Right, as you can see from behind me, I've just finished cutting out that piece in the lower quarter section. It's pretty bad. There's a lot of rust in behind it as well on that inner panel. All I've done now is gone ahead and just removed a lot of that rust with the die grinder. There was a piece in that corner there where you can see it was like a perfect circle. Well, I've made it into a perfect circle now up in here. We'll put a rubber bung in there. And then down here, that inner along here was lots of little holes. And what I'm gonna do is I've literally just cut it out. I'm going to leave that the way it is because obviously there's nothing else to weld to that's clean without it probably going all porosity. So when I make this new piece now, I'm just going to sit it over there flush it in here with some sealer. And then next step from here is obviously I need to make a template. So I'm going to use the piece that I removed from this panel, lay it backside down onto some paper, cut out a template, and then obviously lay it onto some steel and cut it all out. Alrighty, got my template all marked out, cut out the little template here that I've just done out of just some paper. It's not a poster, works well. So I've left a little bit of overhang around the bottom so that after I've folded it or rolled it around the quarter, there'll be excess. And then once the panel's up there and I've rolled it, I'll trim the excess off, trim it back level with the existing panel that's there, and good to go. Behind me, all linished up, welded in really good. There's a couple of small highs and lows, but they'll get a little bit of filler put in it, and then I can whack some primer on it tomorrow, and then get in towards painting it hopefully towards the end of the week and get it ready before Nick can pick the car up on Sunday. Alright, back out here once again. Time to get back into Nick's little Cortina on tonight's list of jobs that I needed to do and still need to do. So first up was the control arms on the bottom. After I TIG welded them, the ends were a little bit tight with the thread, so I went down to Toolkit Depot and got a thread chase and just chased all the threads in them as when you adjust them, it was starting to nip up and it was quite tight and I didn't like it. So I've gone and chased all those threads now and they're nice and free so that it's nice and easy to adjust. And that's how it should be. So that's all killer. I'm also going to put those axles in tonight so the diff can be all sealed up before we start doing some further painting. Obviously it's got to be all masked up anyway, but just need to do that. So then we can move forwards to putting the wheels under the car. The axles are just here. I'll spin the camera around and give you a look. So these are the axles here as supplied by the guys down at CDS. These things are killer. Large bearing. So as you can see, factory seal, rubber seal, sorry, on here. Whereas the backing plates we are continuing using are the F100 brakes, which he already had. So, I mean, in an ideal world, you'd probably go for something a little bit lighter. These are on the heavy side, but they do work well for what we're doing. As proven on my own car, it has drum brakes and it works. So anyway, what I've gone ahead and done, because I'm gonna put these over the axles, this fit here is perfect to the bearing. And that seal, that's rubber, 9 times out of 10, it gets pinched. So what I've done on this one here as demo, I've rolled the seal off, put it to the inside, and then this backing plate can slide perfectly over the bearing, and then the seal can be weaved up through the hole of the backing plate after and put on to the bearing. Alrighty, axles are all back in, diff's pretty much done, ready to almost put the wheels on it after the painting's all done. I'll spin the camera around and you'll see that lower quarter panel is ready for primer tomorrow. While it looks like there is heaps of bog, it's just a skim. It's just to cover the highs and the lows. There's a little bit between that panel and the old panel where it shrunk a little bit, but it was fuck all. By the time you skim it, you prime it, I mean, the panel was absolutely full of bog before, and now it's 10 times better and will probably outlast all of us. So tomorrow is a new day. We'll whack some primer on that, let that cure. It can shrink back, do whatever it's got to do before we lay on some orange on maybe Thursday or Friday, see how we go. Cheers. Alrighty, Saturday morning out in the shed, just come home from work. The car is nearly ready to just have the wheels put back on it now. They're ready to be all cleaned up and then the car can be pushed outside. I'm going to give it a wash. Car's pretty filthy all over before he picks it up tomorrow, but it is all painted and it's come out really good. So from what it was to now, obviously it's chalk and cheese. The paint isn't 100% matched, but it's what was supplied and it's turned out really good for how old the car is and what it's been through. So I'll spin the camera around and give you a look. So all finished, come out really good. Obviously it was painted here up in the air on the hoist. Got a couple little bits of shit in the paint, but I mean, there's no spray booth here. The paint matches pretty good. Once he's done his first skid and there's rubber all up the quarters, you probably won't even pick it, but it's nice and straight. No more shit in it. More bog and rust, I mean, so I'm happy. It's come out really good. So time to put these wheels back on, give them a good scrub up and give the car a wash. While there, I also wanted to make note of is over the last 3 days, so that on the initial, was it Wednesday or Tuesday, I believe. Anyway, so cut the rust out, cleaned it all up, put etch primer on it, did that new panel, put it all on. By the time it has been bogged, let it sit, rubbed it back. The next day, it was ready for primer. So we've put 2-pack primer on it, let that sit, rub that down the next day following, and let all the solvents escape. Instead of just painting it with primer and then painting it straight away with paint, you get a lot of shrinkage that way. We didn't want that, and there was no real rush over one night to get it done. So what we've done is just put the primer on it, let it sit, rubbed it out, get all the runs out, whatever, the shit in the paint, get it nice and flat, applied the paint, and then it's literally just had a light wet rub and sand, and then buffed it into the quarter, and it's actually blended in really well, so I'm happy. All right, guys, as we approach the end of the video here, we're going to add in a little bit of footage from the weekend. So was lacking a little bit of content in regards to the Cortina just before his dad and Nick come and pick the car up. But while they were here on Sunday, I still had the car freshly just sitting here from being at roll racing on Saturday night, where I took the car up and I've been slowly working through putting a tune-up in it with Jeff and just power managing it so that we can, I guess, put some power in this thing without it wheel spinning. So while the car was sitting in the shed raring to go on Sunday and they had put the car away in the trailer, I said what better time to hop in the car and take them for a cruise down the road. Nick's never been in it and neither has his dad. So I said, jump in, we'll go for a cruise down the road, and here's their reactions. Thanks all for watching. I hope you all like it. We'll see you all on the next one. Cheers.